So we are along the Navarro River. We're in the Navarro River Redwoods State Park. We're amongst trees that are second and third growth. They logged here probably in the 50s or 60s. Trees are about 180 feet tall. We attract a lot of people that come here just to kind of spend time with themselves, to reconnect. Obviously, we're in a very spiritual place, the Redwoods. A lot of people come from all over the world to experience just the peace and tranquility that the redwood forests and groves can provide. There are groves throughout Mendocino County and throughout the north coast of California that are hundreds and thousands of years old, and you just get lost.
Right now we're in a grove. If you were to ask even a local where the Margaret Ware Grove is, no one would know. We happen to be here, there's even a sign, but it's an empty grove. There are maybe 6 groves people know about, but they are distinct groves. There are different types of groves, mostly depending on the age. So you have the first growth, which is old growth, the trees that have never been cut, and they're immense trees. They tend to shadow out everything else. So those groves, you have maybe 50 feet between trees, and so they make these large cavernous spaces. There's very little undergrowth except the redwood sorrel. And then you have the second growth, the stuff after the first cutting, but they're still more than 100 years old usually, so they're big trees, they're a little tighter together. And then you have the third growth, those trees that have been cut all the way through the 60s generally, and you get rings around these trees because redwoods will sprout off of the roots. So within a grove, you might see hundreds of trees, but you're probably only seeing a few distinct organisms because each of those rings are just clones of the same tree often. Mendocino is really one of the only places you can see these forests. It's the perfect place.
Key things if you're going to visit Mendocino are certainly the redwood trees, the intimate wineries, great little unique tasting rooms, and obviously great wine. And there's the ocean. I mean, the ocean here is accessible. You can walk the headlands, you can go to the little private beaches, you can take a little kayak out or ride a horse. You can't really do that anywhere else.
I would take someone to Montgomery Woods, which is an old growth grove that used to be a swamp hundreds of years ago. And so the space between them is just epic. And it creates these enormous cavernous spaces with trees that you could fit 30 people around. And fallen trees you could fit 6 people abreast walking.
I would say if you really wanted to experience Mendocino, you need at least 3 days. We are, again, a couple-hour drive from San Francisco, but you could spend a day in the Redwoods, a day in wine country, and certainly a day or two on the coast. There's a lot to do.